My mother-in-law kept gifting my kids expensive things behind my back until I found out she was using them to track our address for someone else. My mother-in-law, Diane, had always been generous, sometimes overly so. She'd show up with expensive toys, tablets, and clothes for my kids, often without asking me first. My husband always brushed it off as her just wanting to spoil her grandchildren. And for years, I mostly let it slide, even when it occasionally felt excessive. About 6 months ago, the gifts started feeling different. She began giving my youngest, Owen, watches and gadgets he'd never actually asked for, insisting he wear them so Grandma could see how big he's getting through some kind of tracking feature built into the device. I found the explanation strange, but assumed it was just an overprotective grandmother thing. Then she gave my daughter a stuffed animal with a small embedded speaker, saying it let her record voice messages back and forth. My daughter loved it, but something about how insistent Diane was that the toy stay with her at all times, even at school, started making me quietly uneasy. I mentioned my discomfort to my husband, who defended his mother instinctively, saying I was overthinking normal grandparent affection. I let it go for a while, but the pattern kept escalating. Every gift seemed to include some kind of location or tracking feature, always framed innocently as safety features for kids. The real unease started when we moved to a new house about 4 months ago, a move we'd kept relatively private, only sharing the new address with close family. Within 2 weeks of moving in, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked across the street several times, always around the same time in the evening. I mentioned it to my husband, who initially dismissed it as a neighbor's guest, but the pattern continued, always around dinner time, always the same car. One evening, I finally wrote down the license plate, more out of unease than any real plan. I decided to look more closely at the gadgets Diane had been giving the kids, since the tracking feature she'd mentioned so casually kept nagging at me. I checked the watch Owen wore constantly and found it had a live location sharing feature connected to an account that wasn't under my husband's or Diane's name. I sat with that discovery for a long, unsettling moment before deciding to dig further instead of jumping to conclusions. I found the Stuffed Animals Companion app on an old tablet, still logged into an account. The linked contact information led to an email address I didn't recognize at all. I brought everything to a private investigator, including the license plate I'd written down. Within a week, I had confirmation that both the mystery account and the car belonged to my children's biological grandfather, my husband's estranged father, a man with a history of custody violations decades earlier during my husband's own childhood, someone he hadn't spoken to in over 15 years. Diane, it turned out, had quietly reconnected with him over the past year, believing enough time had passed for things to be different. She'd been feeding him updates about our lives, including our new address, without ever telling my husband she'd been in contact with him again. I brought everything to my husband immediately, laying out the tracking devices, the investigator's findings, and the connection to his father. He went pale, then furious, in a way I'd rarely seen from him before. We contacted the police that same week, provided everything we'd gathered, and secured a restraining order given his father's documented history. We changed our address protocols entirely after that, removing every tracking-capable device from the house. Diane was devastated when confronted, insisting she genuinely believed reconciliation was possible and never meant for anything dangerous to happen. My husband told her, calmly but firmly, that her judgment couldn't be trusted with our children's safety anymore. She sees the kids now